You do accept, though, that at some point more concessions will be necessary, do you?
Well, I'm not sure. No figure has been given on how we ameliorate our exit from the European budget. That's got to be decided. But I think so far the European Union are finding it very, very difficult to imagine how a country can leave the European Union, leave the regulatory structure and all the rules, and still trade with the European Union on a free trade basis. Well, they've got to get their brains around that, because that's how the rest of the world trades. And I think the danger is that we are being dragged into a longer and longer period of uncertainty without any clear view of what comes out at the end of it. We're paying for the privilege of the EU carrying on interfering in our country long after we've left the European Union. These are the proposals that are being mooted and briefed, and I don't think they're acceptable.
What, so a transitional period where we continue to pay for access, to continue to pay so that the budget doesn't change, is not acceptable?
Well, if we are walking out in the middle of a financial period, and I think it's perfectly reasonable that we should say, yes, this comes as a surprise. Let us help you smooth.
We signed up to it. We should honour our commitment.
Well, I don't accept we have any legal commitment after Article 50 comes to an end, because that's very clear. But as a quid pro quo for understanding and cooperation, look, the real point here, it should be in everybody's interests to maintain the maximum of trade and cooperation and economic cooperation between the UK and the EU after we leave. The EU doesn't seem to believe that. The EU, if there are barriers raised between the EU and the UK on Brexit, it will be the EU raising the barriers, not us.
You don't just blame the EU for this. You also blame people within the city and people within the government. And the suggestion is that you are suggesting that the likes of the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, should be moved because he's a bloc.
Well, no, I've not said that at all. Absolutely.
Is that not the case?
I've made it very explicit. I'm not attacking any individual. I'm interested in the policy. I think the Treasury has an institutional mindset, and they tend to hear the likes of the Lord Mayor of London, who you had on this morning.
Wait, hold on a second. They're led by the Chancellor.
And they tend to give the Chancellor that advice. But they don't hear Sir James Dyson or Anthony Bamford of JCB, who are saying completely opposite things.
So you're quite happy the Chancellor staying as the Chancellor.
I'm not
should not be moved.
I want to talk about the policy, because I think the Chancellor...
But the policy follows, doesn't it?
Well, the Chancellor has led a very important debate about how we smooth the transition as we leave the European Union. But I think this has now got to be crystallised, and the Prime Minister should use the authority of her office to impose what she wants on the Cabinet. And it is clear that she wants to be a sovereign state after we've left the European Union, and she wants she don't want a transition, she wants an interim period leading to a very clear free trade agreement, which has got to be outlined in the initial exit agreement. We cannot have some long, interminable transition that simply puts off all the issues that need to be decided as we leave the European Union. That would make the uncertainty go on for those years.
You said she should use the authority of her office. Does she have that authority now?
Oh, yes. Have no doubt about that.
And those who say...
Just look at all the support she's had from members of Parliament over the last few days, despite her difficulties. And if she comes back to the House of Commons after the 19th of October Council meeting, she will be cheered to the echo if she were to say, look, I've had enough of this. We're going to get ready to leave on 2019. We're going to spend the money we need to be ready to leave in March 2019. But if the European Union wants to come back to the table and talk to us about what kind of relationship they want with us in the long term, then we're ready to talk. But we're not going to be... Look, can I just explain something? They wouldn't talk to us until we'd triggered Article 50, because it's a kind of religion for them. We triggered Article 50. They continued to refuse to talk to us. So Theresa May makes a very emollient and welcomed speech in Florence, and Macron and people are still saying, oh, we're not going to talk about free trade until after Christmas. They're just stringing us along. And there comes a point where you've got to dig in and say, look, if you want to talk, we'll talk, but otherwise we're going to get ready to leave. And the idea that we should pay billions and billions and billions of pounds, we've paid 390 billion net into the European Union since we joined.
Briefly,
and they want
when
more.
The likes of Nick Clegg say when the deal is produced and it doesn't match those who were campaigning for out, like yourself, then it should be voted down by MPs?
Well, it's desperate, isn't it? I mean, the largest number of people voted for a single proposition in that referendum.
But if
ever.
it is not delivered as they expected and as they were promised...
And therefore, what we must deliver is taking back control
Bernard
control
Jenkin.
of our immigration, of our money, of our laws and of our trade with third countries. And if we don't deliver that in March 2019, then we will be punished by the voters.
Thank you very much, Bernard Jenkin. We're listening to that, our political editor, Laura Kuenssberg. And a quick word on this, because, of course, front of the pages...